Nikki, welcome back to my channel, and I realized that I forgot to talk about some books in my wrap-up, so we'll do that. I thought I had some DNFs, but now that I have them, I might have DNF'd them in January and not... I might just talk about them anyway. Activity. Wish I could see. Okay. Well, I have them, so we'll just talk about them. I think I DNF'd them. Well, it doesn't matter. But A Dark and Hollow Star. This is LGBT, QIA+, fantasy, but set in Toronto. And I'm weird about urban fantasy. I'm really picky about it. And I thought there were dragons involved, but they're fae. And I don't always like fae stuff. But I was going to give it a shot. But then it turns out one of our main characters. And there's some Greek myth stuff, so I was like, ooh, okay, I can do that. Because one of our main characters is Alecto. Arlo is one of our main characters. And she's in school. Turns out she's in high school. And I noped so hard out of there. Three things I am not fond of: high school drama, fae, and urban fantasy. So no, I tried, I gave it a shot, but no, I couldn't deal with the high schoolness of it all. And because I think she's gonna fall in love with Alecto, and I'm like, but she's in high school, why do we have to do this? So no, I wasn't here for it. And then I was really sad about this one, The Stone Knife by Anna Stevens. It's the first in a trilogy, I want to say. And I was so excited. It's so big and chunky, and it's set in like a Mesoamerican type of vibe. Like this. It's given, before the Spaniards came, and it had a really cool premise. There's a song that this big empire, this one, the Singing City, they're like taking over the rest of this place with the song and installing it everywhere. And then there are these like I think they're just called drowners that sing and like lure people into the water, and like they're somehow connected. And then there's like a group of deaf people who fight the drowners because they're deaf, so they can't hear the song, and that's really cool. But I don't know, I kind of liked it. I just really wanted to know more about the song and the drowners and that connection. But I don't know. I don't know. I wasn't feeling it. It's so big. And there's a lot of points of views. And I don't know. It moved pretty slow. Like, I didn't know if it was going to get any faster, and you might not even find out what the connection is anyway. So yeah, I might try it on audiobook. If I really want to know, I can try it on audiobook. That's all I'm saying. So yeah, I was really disappointed in both of them. I was hoping I would, I don't know, I just wasn't feeling it. Sometimes you just have to DNF because you're not feeling it. And I did post this one for sale. I think I am going to sell it. I don't think I don't know. I don't know. I think I have to go with my first feeling of I don't want to finish it and I don't want to keep it in my house, basically. And then the other two books I didn't talk about were audiobooks. One was the Korean Mythology Collection. I thought it was one thing, but it's three things. The Korean Fairy Tales by William Elliott Griffiths, Korean Folk Tales, translated from the Korean of Imbang and Yiruk by James S. Gale. I think I said those correctly. And Korean Tales by Horace Newton Allen. But they don't tell you that. So when you're listening to it, it's just giving you the title of the story they're telling. So you sometimes get the same story a couple of times. And it was okay. I think I liked the stories. Like, there was a Cinderella-y one. There was... the Top Knots and Crockery Hats. That's one that came up a couple times. It's like, this is why people wear top knots and why people wore crockery hats. It wasn't so much, sometimes it wasn't so much like a fairy tale or a folk tale. It was like, this is why we do a thing, and here's the myth of why we do the thing. So, you know, a lot of world building, you know, like that kind of thing. Because they did talk a lot about why women do this and why men do, you know, that kind of thing. And it was okay. I think specifically the two written by the white men was probably And I don't know when the Korean folk tales got translated by an old white man in the 1800s, 1900s. So yeah, at least he lived in Korea. Looks like that guy lived in Korea for a while. But they're like old white men telling these tales, and now that you know that, it's like translating them through the era of when they were translated, 1930s, 1920s, that kind of thing. So there's a lot of that in it. Yeah. I just kind of wish it had broken it up, not by works, not by stories, but like, this is your Korean fairy tale section, this is your Korean folk tale, and these are your Korean tales. Because like I said, you did listen to some of them twice. These are old white guys who died in like the 1930s and 1920s. So yeah, they have their own sort of agenda when translating Korean tales. So yeah, I would look personally. I'm gonna try to look for another Korean mythology book, and see what happens. I listened to another type of mythology book, and maybe a Japanese one, and I think it had the same problems. They were translated into English and then taken out of context of Korea or Japan by white guys. But it looks like all three of these white guys, like, at least lived a bit in Korea and knew Korean, so it was okay. I think I'm gonna look for another one. And gotta find it again. The other book I read was The Dark Lord of Dirkholm by Diana Wynne Jones, who wrote Howl's Moving Castle, and apparently that has sequels. This one was so good, you guys. Like, It was so good. It is set on like a parallel Earth or something. An alternate Earth, if you want, and a guy, what's his name? Mr. Chesney. He somehow figured out, using portals, I assume. Maybe he worked with Aperture Science. No. To go to the magic world. And he basically took it over and is now running tours through it. So all the wizards have to wear robes. There has to be a dark lord that the tourists can beat. Like, everybody pays him money. They don't really explain what happened or how it happened. But it was a normal magical world, and then he showed up and turned it into a business. And at the start of the book, there's a magic university. The head of the university, Carida, and the others working with her want to shut it down. They're like, no. Oh, Mr. Chesney has demons. But they don't explain, like, it's just happened. So they go to, like a temple to talk to, there's 2 seers, I think. A white and a black. That's just their colors. And one of them says, the guy you need is going to walk out the door, the first person to walk out the door. And the other one says, the other guy you need is the second person to walk out the door. And they're like, what? So they leave. And then out comes Dirk and his son, Blade. And they're like, ah. So that's why it's Dirkholm. And Dirk is, I wouldn't say he's a very powerful wizard, but he's pretty powerful. And he didn't really like the university. I'm not sure if he went while Mr. Chesney was in charge or it was like before that. But it's like any sort of university. It's sort of like hems you in, and he wanted to experiment and do things. I think he quit. He might have graduated, but he doesn't. But Blade, his son, is very powerful and wants to go. And he's like, you can't. They'll like beat the magic out of you, you know? Or not literally. You know what I mean? And he's got a wife, Mara, who's lovely. She's pretty powerful. And so they're basically like Dirk is a middle-aged married man. They have 2 human children, Shona and I think it's Shona, and Blade. And Dirk, since he likes to experiment, he has made some griffin. When you go to his house, there's like flying pigs and talking horses and unicorns, and he's made griffin children using cat, lion, bird, and human. Don't ask. They don't explain it. They were hatched from eggs. You just gotta go with it. There's Kit, who's the oldest. He's huge and black, which is important. He's also a magic user. Colette is a boring brown. She's the only boring color, but she's still beautiful. She's like a tinkerer, and I believe she does artistry. Dawn is gold. He's not special, but that's what it says. He says he's not special. And he doesn't really have like any magic powers like his siblings, and he's not super smart, but he's lovely. So there's Lida, who's also gold, and she's the cook. And she comes to find out that she thinks she can't, because Colette and Kit can, and I think even Dawn can sort of fly at these great distances, and Lida doesn't think she can, but finds out she can. She's the best flyer. And the youngest is Elda, who's also gold, and she is a magic user as well. She's in the sequel, Year of the Griffin. So, and Carida has talked to all the women, including Mara, about essentially they're wanting to ruin this tour, and Mara doesn't talk to Dirk anymore. She has to go to her own thing because she's the Enchantress and he's the Dark Lord, and they have to transform it, and he gets really depressed, Dirk. So Blade and Kit end up doing a lot of stuff, and then this old ass dragon shows up, and he's basically been asleep since before Mr. Chesney, and he's just, I don't know if it's because the magic is sort of leaving because of what's happening with Mr. Chesney, so he's pretty wrecked, and he just roasts literally poor Dirk. And Mara she's a healer, so she's trying to heal the dragon and trying to heal Dirk. So Dirk is out for most of the book, which means Kit and Blade and Shauna and the other Griffins have to do a lot more than they were planning on. And Blade at some point has to go and be a wizard guide, which is a whole mess in of itself, because there's tourists who aren't having a great time, and there are tourists who want to stay, and there are tourists who are not really tourists because they're either working for Mr. Chesney or working against Mr. Chesney. It's a whole thing. And then they find out what Mr. Chesney is doing, with the dwarves, and how he sort of made everybody do what he wants besides the demon. There's hostages involved, and Dirk gets really depressed at some point because of everything, and so nobody can go into his castle because he doesn't want any of it, and everybody has shown up there, and it's a shit show. And Mr. Chesney shows up and is what is happening? And then I'm not gonna tell you what happens. But yeah, it was very good. I loved the narrator. Who was the narrator? Gildart Jackson. That's a great name. He was a very good narrator, and the writing was really great. I might actually have to, I've only seen Howl's Moving Castle. I might have to read it. And I have listened to the second year in this, the Year of the Griffin. Yeah. It was really good. There were lots of twists and turns. Obviously, I'm not telling you everything. So I think you should read it. I think it's really great. It's really fun. I classified it as young adult on my spreadsheet. It's probably upper pushing into adult just a little bit, because it's on the upper end of young adult, because there are some battle scenes. They're not super violent, but the Griffins get really into them, their Griffin animal nature sort of, and then that kind of freaks them out, and then they get a little bit of PTSD. John does something one time and he goes, oh, I don't want to do it, but he has to do it because Kit isn't there. So just, excuse me, stuff like that. You feel bad for everybody, because essentially these people on this world, elves, dwarves, humans versus other humans. They have to, like, fight against each other, and people do die. People on this planet die. People from our planet die. There are actually some people who are meant to die. Like, people paid for them to go to die. They're not prisoners, although they do have prisoners being part of the Dark Lord's team. I think prisoners from Earth who are destined to die. But also, like, if you didn't want, like, your husband anymore, you could just send him off and pay extra to make sure he dies. Like, what the fuck? So, Dirk doesn't know any of this because he was never a Dark Lord before. And he finds all this out and he's like, what the fuck? So, yeah, it's great. I enjoyed it. I think you would enjoy it too. So, yeah, those are the books I forgot to talk about. Thanks for watching. I hope you're having a great day, by the way. I know it's been pretty stressful. So, yeah. Have a good day, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.